So it's quite a new science, Archaeoacoustics, which is, so it's interesting new method of reanalysing ancient sites, uses different study parameters to rediscover forgotten technology which operates on a human emotional sphere. So we're talking about personal development, that's where the connection is with these ancient sites and sound. Is there something we can see? I'll just bring this up very quickly. I can send, if anyone's actually interested in the science, I can send you these papers. But when I found out about the acoustics of some of these ancient sites, I wanted to see what I could find at leading universities around the world, if there was anything, and there's plenty there, but of course it's such a niche subject, most people don't know about it. But it was part of these ancient traditions, and so that has come down to us. So we're not trying to put something on top of these ancient religions. We do know that these systems used resonance concepts, and we're aware of frequency. And so this site is in Peru, and it was, and possibly you could say still is, one of the leading archaeoacoustic investigations going on. And I found this lady at Stanford who would actually answer my emails, because I do like to go to these people directly. Because I could talk to you a lot about the internet and people putting things on blogs and then actually finding out it's just made up stuff because they want to get a few clicks on adverts and direct you to their website. So I want to go to the scientists directly. Maybe they're giving me a bit more information for my own research. And she was very open to the kind of spiritual side and consciousness, because she's been in these sites and experienced the incredible acoustics.
Is it the bouncing of sound, or is it actually emitting sound?
The bouncing of sound, and I've got an example at the end. Okay. So you will get the example, don't worry, I won't let you down. So this is ongoing research, as you wrote a very nice article about it, and I've got a recording of hers that I can send about it. They were actually called down there, Stanford, because the Peruvian scientists that were looking at the site realised that there was some acoustics at this site, Chavin, and their conclusion was that they actually diverted a river 2 kilometres to this site and then built these acoustic chambers, because they did it with directional microphones. So it's a series of small chambers and they all kind of flow into a central spot. So with the directional microphones, when you record in all the different places and put it together on the computer, you can see the sound flowing around like sand all around into this central spot. So they can see that it's by design how it's all done. So they've built this whole site with acoustics in mind and this connection to water. And you will see the same pattern in England, South America, Egypt. So we have water present. You have these huge megalithic blocks like at Stonehenge, which have crystal inside them, same as here, and there's some kind of acoustic properties. A lot of daily paper headlines about Stonehenge and acoustics. You may have seen them, but just Google that and you get all of our daily papers. There's always new things. And Olga and I have actually played our large gong inside Stonehenge in the last year, and it was pretty mind-blowing. So that's a paper on the subject. That's freely available on the internet. That's Stanford. Again, Princeton was another one, dug into their stuff. This was a while ago. So some good researchers looking at the acoustical resonances of ancient structures. And they looked at these sites, which is Wayland's Smithies over in Wiltshire, somewhere that I go fairly often. It's got nice acoustics. And Ken, Elle and I in Loft Crew, I've been in there with my drum, and Newgrange I was lucky to test the acoustics there. So Olga and I have got a trip to Cornwall just to complete this list. But these sites are nothing compared to inside the Great Pyramid. So these guys reached the conclusion. It's an old paper, it's gone through a few transitions, this one. It's got hole punches on the side, and then someone scanned it in, and then I've put it on the slide. So the hypothesis that certain ancient structures possessed resonant acoustical properties that may have contributed to their functional purposes, and that's what they were concluding in this paper, that it's again by design. But why should we care? UCLA basically put the pieces together on why it might be interesting to us. And they do a lot of interesting research at UCLA, and part of that was this paper, which again is freely available, and I can supply the links. So we're looking at how this affects our brain activity. So they do the scans by using these certain sound frequencies in the lab. So you start to see this different regional brain activity with these different frequencies of sound. And 110 hertz, which was the one that they had a lot of success with in the lab, is what you find a lot of these ancient structures tuned to. So it's either by coincidence or they all came up with the same number somehow, perhaps intuitively. And this is kind of ongoing research with the University of Trieste. Again, Paolo, actually, the head guy here, turned out to be a friend of one of my friends, so I had a good chat with him. And his conclusion was that this site, its ability to induce mystical states in ancient people using basically what he called the secret rites of the mother goddess or other ancient deities, would have been very strong. So could this forgotten process be made use of today to achieve optimum brain states using sound vibrations? And that was just a comment. The kind of thing we get up to on the tours in Egypt, I don't normally look like that when I'm leaving the monastery. How are we doing on time? Haven't been too long, have I?
Have you got like 5-10 minutes?
Okay, I can work with that, that's alright. If I see anyone falling asleep, I'll wrap it up quicker. So, I was on the trail. There seemed to be a link between ancient sites, sound, and us having these interesting experiences on the group tours. That was why I got interested, because we did have suddenly these moments of very deep sort of intuitions and this real sort of expansiveness, and at some of the sites, just this feeling of freedom that you get when you get away from the constant thinking. And I was starting to repeat it. We've had groups from 16 to 18 nationalities, age range 20 to 80. I was starting to be able to take one group in, and then we go back 6 months later, a completely new group of people, and seeing them responding in the same way. So I was trying to do my best as the scientist, not leading them, saying let's see what happens, and hearing these same sort of experiences and really loving the experiences. So I ended up going down to Peru. This is actually on the way from Cusco, and we were going to go to Machu Picchu. It's a site that is kind of on the tourist trail if you've got a bit of extra time. And it's worth just going for the Andes Mountains. I mean, it's just incredible and mind-blowing. I'd recommend anyone that can handle 9,000 to 10,000 feet in altitude. It took its toll on a few people up there. They actually have oxygen in a few of the hotel lobbies. This wasn't me taking the photograph, but this is what this site looks like from the air. An incredible amount of work they chopped out of this mountain. This was where we went down into, and I had one of the most amazing experiences with the sound in this site. We were standing in the middle of the bottom, and we heard these European tourists sort of shouting across to each other, and you could hear the amplification of their voices. Because I don't really know what this site's for. The general theory is that it's for agricultural, because it's kind of terraced, like they grow the crops, but it's very unusual in this spherical design. And I actually sent Brian back to have another look after I left, because I wanted to see, because they've carved out the whole side of the cliff, it looked like, above where this is, and he went back and had a good look at it, and it does look like they've actually smoothed off the edges of the cliff above this, which you wouldn't need to do unless you really were trying to do something with the shape of the site.
I do remember something about this, and it was something about the way that they provided hydration and as water for crops.
Yeah, that's
but I can't remember exactly how the water ran.
the theory is because it's at different levels that somehow you might be able to grow different crops in these different zones. And there were certainly water channels there, because of course it rains a lot in the Andes, but you could see that the pieces of stone that had the water channels in, were actually again from a much older site.
I'd just like quickly to ask if it rains a lot, is it all the time, or is it seasonal?
Seasonal.
No,
Yeah, they do
that's
have.
important.
Yeah, they do have a.
There is a dry season and
Yeah.
a wet season.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So again, a lot of these sites, when we try and look back at them now, have been rebuilt on by generations and generations, because if they've been around for thousands of years, of course we now reappropriate sites and rebuild or use old sites and turn an old pub into housing or whatever we might want to do. So it's very difficult. But there was definitely acoustics there. I had an amazing experience. I'd say it was one of my life-changing ones. So it does seem, so that's called two sites. We've got Chavin and that Murray in Peru, and then we've got the acoustics in Egypt, which we're going to look at. But I also found something in England. A lot of these sites around, which are called dolmens. There's this one, this isn't the original name. These names are kind of from the 17 or 1800s. When the megalith builders back at kind of Stonehenge time were building them, of course we haven't got any connection to those names. But somebody obviously was a bit scared of this place. But it's actually one of my favourites, in a lovely valley in Wiltshire. And what I found there was this. That's me. That's another angle of me. And no one really seemed to know about it. This is actually a head-shaped hole. So as you can see, I'm quite capable of sticking my whole head in there. It kind of comes like a motorcycle helmet. And again, this is a crystalline sandstone, similar to what they use at Stonehenge. And it's only because I'm looking at these sites now with acoustics in mind that it occurred to me that I could stick my head in there and do a bit of chanting. And of course the whole stone is right close to your head, so you reverberate it. And normally what I do, and I've actually sent quite a few people there, and they really seem to have a good impact from this site. But if you go in the kind of stressed frame of mind, if you put your head in there and give it a good chant, you do feel the joy in the heart pretty quickly. So it has this dramatic transformational effect. So that's what I found. But what set me off on this journey was spending a lot of time. And the Great Pyramid's on the right-hand side. So at this point, I've lost count of how many times I've taken different guests up inside the Great Pyramid, because I got quite addicted to it once I realised it had these acoustic properties. But something like 25 to 30, 35 times I've been inside there. And this is, I think, a nice name for the Giza Plateau, the splendid place of the first time. Because as we saw, the geology is pointing back to this much older age, possibly going back into the times of the last ice age. And it is the last surviving ancient wonder. They're kind of renaming ones of the world, but it is the last surviving ancient wonder on the planet. Has anyone been inside the Great Pyramid here? So I've got two versions. I've got some ladies that are in one of my tour groups to give you an idea of the female tones, and then there's my voice to give you an idea of the male. So this is the first one. kind of an idea of what it sounds like. There's a lot of reverberation. So if you just stand inside and say hello, the sound bounces hello, 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 hello. And that basically feeds me into just the last couple of slides, because this is of course how we test the gong.
Yes.
So Olga and I now run these events locally, and the gong is the closest that we're able to share of people being inside the Great Pyramid locally. That's all I can say. It's a lot easier than going to Egypt at this point with all the politics. So sometimes we do these kind of all-night gong baths. This was one where all these gongs are played and people just lay in the vibrations for about 10 hours and sleep in it. So you definitely wake up a bit different the next day. I'm not a huge fan of the technology versions, but some people do find them useful, particularly if they're having sleep problems. I actually recommended this to a psychologist that was speaking at a conference in America, and he used it and then it helped him get to sleep, so he definitely recommended it. We do have the book, The Lost Star of Myth and Time, is the kind of builds on the DVD that we saw, The Great Year, because obviously you can write a lot more detail and go into different areas in the book. And just to finish off, we do take people, Olga and I, to these sites as well as a few others. I do acoustics days at the ancient sites, and we can arrange private entrance to Stonehenge. They do let small groups go inside Stonehenge. You have to go early in the morning or late in the evening before it gets dark, but you have to book a long time ahead. If anyone's interested, we can tell you about that. And we also do the nature experience walks, which would have been in the lecture, but I knew I'd already been asleep for too long. But there was two things I got from ancient India and my studies of Egypt. That was the sound and to look into nature, to understand my own nature. That led to Olga and I running these nature experience walks, which you use the different senses when we go into these ancient woodland at Newton's Corner, and it does actually get you out of the head. We had one lady that came with us, said she suffered from anxiety and just dark thoughts all the time. And just 40 minutes in the space that we used, that voice had gone, so she was very glad she